Hello and welcome to Teachable Moments with Young Children and what activities we can do during those times. I'd like to start off by asking a couple of questions. Can moms really make a difference during their child's early years? Have you ever wondered how long a child's attention span is? And lastly, have you ever wondered if there are certain activities that you can do during certain times of the day that can help prepare for school readiness? Well, hello and welcome to the Tools for Motherhood tutorial series. This channel is for moms to help equip you so you can help your child be better prepared for school readiness. I'm Dr. Mary Duncan with over 30 years of teaching that I would like to share with you. If this is your first time on this channel, perhaps you'd like to check out the subscribe button below and receive any alerts when a new video comes out, as well as any handouts. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the YouTube series, and I would like to first of all start off by sharing that when I first became a mom, my son was not only born a month early, but he was also born the last day when the cutoff for the school year ends, if you look at a school year. So he would technically be the youngest child in the classroom. So I set out at that time to figure out how I could help my son become as ready for kindergarten as I could. So I pulled out my early childhood textbooks as well as my teaching textbooks and all my little manipulatives, and I began developing for him different activities based on the main subject areas to prepare him for school. So at first there was not much of a response from my baby, but once I understood better his daily cycles and what activities I could do during certain times of the day, that really helped. So during this particular video, I'm going to be sharing with you key principles which I found to be very helpful, not only as a classroom teacher and an adjunct early childhood instructor, but also from a parent perspective. So have you ever heard the saying that something is like trying to find a needle in a haystack? Well, that may be what you feel when you're looking for that teachable moment in the 24 hours of a child's day. And then wondering how long is their attention span. We're going to be covering both of those. And what do we look for when a child is ready for those few teachable moments? So we're going to be looking at the different stages of a child's early years during the baby, toddler, and preschool years. So an overview over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the 3 stages of your child's early years, 3 times of the day that your child cycles through, and then specific activities that you can do. We're going to begin with the infant and taking a look at their cycle of the day. We're looking at about 8 weeks or 6 weeks to about 18 months. And throughout that day, they're going to be going through several different cycles of the sleeping, awake, and crying. Sleeping and crying are jobs, well, we're just supposed to meet those needs. We'll comfort them when they're crying. We'll change their diapers when they're needed, feeding when it's time, and putting them down for a nap or to bed when it's appropriate. But that 3rd stage is what we want to focus in on. When they're awake. There are 2 times when they're awake. They're mellow or not very active, or they're active. So we're going to start off by looking at the mellow time, or when they're not as active, but they're awake. This could be just after they wake up from a nap. Those would be great times to hold them and talk to them face to face. You can hold the baby on your lap and cuddle with them, or when you're walking around the room and you're looking at different pictures or different books or different things as you're walking around the room, you can hold your baby facing outward sometimes. Picture books, you can hold those in front of your baby too and point out several of the things that they might be interested in. For example, if you've got a dog or something like that at home, perhaps they would want to look at the different dogs that are in the different pictures. Also examining stuffed animals up close, looking at their eyes and their nose and their ears. You could lay a blanket on the floor with some toys around them to examine all the different textures. Now let's take a look at the active times. This is when the body starts moving more. For example, they could be starting to roll. They're scooting, crawling, pulling up. They could be standing or walking, and later on they could be running. When they're getting into this stage, you can sense that they're getting bored. They may want some kind of stimulation, and this is when you can add in these awake active activities. Some of those could be like a bouncy seat. I'm sure you've seen those. Or one of those Johnny jump ups that go in the door frame and they bounce up and down with. In the high chair, they could practice feeding themselves with Cheerios, or perhaps crawl over up and down and over obstacles in the living room with some of the cushions and pillows. You could take them outside. You could lay on a blanket on the grass and explore over the side of what is in the grass or the dirt, or are there little bugs down in there. You could practice walking on different surfaces. For example, they're learning to walk, so they could gain balance on perhaps walking on a landscape timber as you're holding their finger. Big cardboard boxes, crawling through those and using one as a playhouse is fun as well. You may ask, how long is a child's attention span? Well, you may be surprised to hear that it's approximately 3 minutes times their age. For example, if they're around 1 year old, then times 3 would be the attention span would be around 3 minutes. There are exceptions to that. If they are teething or if they're not feeling well, then it would not last that long. But if they're looking at a new toy or they're really interested in the activity, then it may last a little longer. Let's look now at the toddler. During the toddler years, we're looking at 18 months to around 3 years. Their attention span is going to be around 4 to 9 minutes, and their total the cycles are going to be there's going to be fewer cycles, but they are going to each last a little bit longer. During the sleepy and crying times, of course, we're meeting their needs again. And so we're going to focus now on the awake time, either the wake active or the wake mellow. Now, the awake mellow time, when they're just waking up from their nap, you could do something like looking at a picture album and say the names of the family members who are pictured. Perhaps they could sit there in your lap while drinking a juice box, something like that. Hydration is something I want to key in on. I read a very interesting article that talked about children in the elementary school and how they could become very lethargic. And one of the research studies showed that if they had some type of fluid every 90 minutes, that would help to refresh their brain. After all, brain cells are the brain is about 78% water, so hydration is important. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the toddler awake active time. If they're outside, this is a great time to get rid of a bunch of energy. They could use big muscle toys such as riding toys, climbing on play equipment and swinging, learning how to go down the slide with their feet first. They could play in the sandbox. We could play chase with one another. If you go into the inside for activities, maybe some more focused time, you'll want to try to get rid of some distractions by turning off the TV. Or if there's a baby brother or sister, maybe they're down for a nap, or you have an opportunity to put them in a playpen or something like that so you can have total focus with your toddler. Try to have your supplies ready if at all possible. That will definitely save time and maximize what you're trying to focus on with their few minutes of attention span. Have regular workstations or workplaces where they go to, such as a coffee table. They could either stand or kneel at to put puzzles together or to color or work with Play-Doh. Also sitting on your lap, they could use markers and write on paper. Tracing around things is also something that's fun, as well as writing their name. I had an opportunity to lead a teachers conference down in Haiti, and while I was there, I worked with some orphans. And one of the little boys was about 10 years old, and he had just been brought in, and he had never seen his name written before. And so we found out the correct spelling of it. I wrote it out on a piece of paper with a bright marker, and then I put glue over the top, and I wished I had glitter or something like that to make it sparkle, but all we had was the dirt that was out in the play yard. So I sprinkled some of that, let it dry, and then I pulled it up and showed the little guy, and his face just beamed when he saw his name for the first time written out. So names are so important with our little ones. Preschoolers, during this age, is 3 to 5 years old. Their attention span is roughly 9 to 15, 18 minutes. Solitary play begins to take place about this time. Let's take a look at some of the awake mellow activities. Again, body wants to be still, but their minds are alert. This is a good time for reading to them. Having that be your goal to extend their vocabulary by reading to them on a daily basis. When they get up to about 6 years old, they're going to be able to pull in about 6 words per day. So as we introduce our children to new words, whether we're shopping on errands or walking out in the field and pointing things out, or just around the house, pointing out what things are, their vocabulary is increasing about 6 words a day. Putting puzzles together, coloring, simple counting, just practice counting, and asking children questions like what is above something or below or in front of, or what is something that is alike or different if you have an assortment of things, as well as practice cutting with scissors. Those are also some fun things to do. Okay, preschoolers, awake active time. This is, again, busy getting rid of lots of energy. You could schedule a play date at a park, which would be like a neutral territory. During those younger years, when they have a play date, they're usually playing alongside their friend. This is called parallel play. But once they get older, they'll begin to interact more with their friend and play together. Other activities, these are riding their bike, climbing, learning to swing, playing in the sandbox with big trucks. You can add in little figures, people, adding water to it, just more in-depth play with the sandbox. They could be digging, Play-Doh, stacking blocks and building with things, helping with cooking or washing dishes and standing on a chair at the sink and playing with measuring cups and playing with the water. Playing games, something like Hi-Ho Cheerio is a great way to learn one-to-one correspondence too, which I'll talk about in another video. So preschoolers, the goal was to wear my son out if at all possible. He was a high energy little guy. So getting rid of all of his energy for a day, providing safe, alternating opportunities to release that energy, it was a true challenge. But looking back, I would never say I wished I had a cleaner house. Instead, I'm glad that I spent the time doing the things that were important to his life and preparing him for school. It truly is a privilege to be a mom, making a difference 3 minutes here or there, with my goal ultimately being around 9 minutes a day. If you'd like to be alerted when other videos come out, be sure to subscribe below. And if you have any questions or comments, please add those to the discussion post, either on this video or on the Tools for Motherhood channel. In summary, we covered the 3 different stages of a child's life: infant, toddler, and preschooler during those early childhood years, 0 to 6. And we talked about activities that could be done during key times of the day to work with their body cycles of sleeping, crying, and awake. Until next time, thanks so much for watching.